The cargo bay smelled like metal and sweat. Kong Taeho lifted another heavy container onto the transport cart. His muscles burned, but he did not stop. He never stopped. That was how humans survived on Orbital Haven. The space station floated between stars, home to dozens of alien species. Humans were the newest arrivals, and they were treated like dirt. They worked the lowest jobs. They lived in the smallest rooms. They kept their heads down and tried not to cause trouble. Taeho wiped sweat from his forehead and looked around the cargo bay. 20 other humans worked beside him, all of them tired, all of them quiet. Above them, walkways made of glass allowed the Velthri to watch. The tall, silver-skinned aliens often came to observe the humans' work. They found it entertaining. The Velthri were beautiful. In a cold way, they stood nearly 7 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that glowed with soft blue markings. They ruled this station. Their word was law. Tae-Ho had been here for 3 years. He had learned to be invisible. He did his work. He collected his small pay. He went back to his tiny room and slept. Then he did it all again. It was not a life. It was survival. He was loading another container when he heard the small voice. "What is that?" Taeho turned. A Velthri child stood near a stack of golden boxes. She was small, maybe the size of a 7-year-old human girl. Her silver skin was smooth, and her blue markings pulsed with curiosity. She pointed at a human worker's lunchbox. "Is that food?" she asked. "Human food?" The workers froze. A Velthri child in the cargo bay was dangerous. If anything happened to her, they would all be punished. "Little one," Taeho said carefully, "you should not be here. This area is restricted." The child looked at him with wide purple eyes. "I know, but I wanted to see the humans. You are so strange. Only 2 arms. Pink skin. No glow." She stepped closer to him, fascinated. "Do you break easily?" Before Taeho could answer, the child stumbled. Her foot caught on a cable, and she fell forward. Her 4 small arms reached out to catch herself. But she grabbed the wrong thing. The stack of golden boxes crashed to the floor. Time seemed to stop. Taeho stared at the boxes. They were covered in ancient Velthri symbols. Sacred items. Ceremonial relics that were worth more than every human on this station combined. The child sat on the floor, surrounded by the fallen boxes. Her purple eyes filled with tears. She knew what she had done. Heavy footsteps echoed through the cargo bay. The workers backed away as a tall Velthri male approached. His uniform was dark red, marking him as a military commander. His face was twisted with rage. Commander Droven. Everyone on the station knew his name. He was cruel even by Velthri standards. He hated humans more than most. "What happened here?" Droven's voice was like ice. The child began to cry. "I am sorry. I did not mean to. I fell in silence." Droven looked at the damaged boxes. One of them had cracked open. Inside, a crystal statue lay in pieces. His 4 hands clenched into fists. "Do you know what you have done, child? These are the sacred relics of my family. 3,000 years of history, destroyed by your carelessness." "Please," the child whispered. "I am sorry." Droven's eyes grew cold. "By the law of our ancestors, one who damages sacred items must receive punishment. 10 strikes from the energy whip." He looked at the small child with no mercy. "The law does not care about age," human workers gasped. Taeho felt his blood turn cold. An energy whip could cut through metal. It would tear a child apart. To Velthri, guards stepped forward to grab the girl. Taeho moved without thinking. He stepped between the guards and the child. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady. "She did not do it." Droven stared at him like he was an insect. "What did you say, human?" The child did not knock over the boxes. Taeho met the commander's eyes. "I did." Silence filled the cargo bay. Every human held their breath. Every Velthri watched with shock. Droven stepped closer to Taeho. He was almost 2 feet taller, and his 4 arms could break a human in half. "You dare lie to protect this child?" "I am not lying." Taeho did not look away. I was moving too fast. I hit the boxes. The child fell when she tried to get out of my way. It was my fault. The child stared at him with wide eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but Taeho gave her a small shake of his head. She stayed silent. Droven studied Taeho for a long moment. Then a cruel smile spread across his face. Very well, human. If you claim responsibility, then you will receive the punishment. 10 strikes, I understand. The guards grabbed Taeho and dragged him to the center of the cargo bay. They tore off his shirt and forced him to his knees. His back was already covered in old scars from years of hard work and harder living. Droven pulled out the energy whip. It glowed bright blue, humming with deadly power. Let this be a lesson, Droven announced to everyone watching. Humans are clumsy, careless. They must be taught their place. The first strike hit Taeho's back. Pain exploded through his body. It felt like fire and lightning combined. His skin split open. Blood ran down his spine. He did not scream. The second strike came. Then the third. Each one was worse than the last. The energy whip burned as it cut. Taeho could smell his own flesh cooking. He did not fall. He did not cry out. The child watched with tears streaming down her face. She wanted to scream, to tell the truth, but fear kept her frozen. By the 7th strike, most humans would have passed out. Taeho stayed awake. His hands gripped the floor so hard, his fingers bled. 8, 9, 10. When it was over, Taeho's back was a ruin of blood and burned flesh. He breathed in short, painful gasps. But he was still on his knees. Still conscious, Droven stared at him with something that might have been surprise. You did not scream. Taeho slowly lifted his head. His face was pale, covered in sweat, but his eyes were clear. Was I supposed to? For a moment, no one moved. Then the cargo bay doors burst open. A female Velthri rushed in, her silver robes flowing behind her. She was tall and elegant, with markings that glowed bright gold. Her purple eyes scanned the room until they found the child. Cleary. She ran to her daughter and pulled her close. I have been searching everywhere. Are you hurt? Mama, the child cried. The human. He took my punishment. He protected me. The female Velthari looked up. Her eyes found Taeho, still on his knees, blood pooling beneath him. Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Something neither of them understood. Valara held her daughter tight, but she could not look away from the broken human who had saved her child. He had taken 10 strikes from an energy whip. For a little girl he did not know, from a species that treated him like an animal. Why? The question burned in her mind as the guards finally let Taeho collapse to the floor. The human medical bay was a small room with old equipment and not enough beds. It was located in the lowest level of the station, far from the clean white hospitals where Velthri received treatment. Humans made do with what they had. Taeho lay face down on a thin mattress. His back was wrapped in bandages that were already turning red with blood. The station doctor, an old human named Beak, had done his best, but energy whip wounds were difficult to heal. They would leave terrible scars. You are the stupidest man I have ever met, Beak said as he changed the bandages. Taking punishment for an alien child? What were you thinking? I was thinking that she was just a kid. Taeho's voice was weak but steady. She is a Velthari kid. They do not care about us. They never will. Beak shook his head. You should have let her take the punishment. It was her mistake. No. Taeho closed his eyes. No child deserves that. I do not care what species she is. The other human workers visited him throughout the day. Some called him brave. Most called him stupid. A few simply stared at him like he was a strange creature. They could not understand. When night came and the medical bay grew quiet, Taeho heard soft footsteps approaching. He opened his eyes. Valara stood in the doorway. She wore simple dark robes instead of her formal attire. Her gold markings glowed softly in the dim light. In her 4 hands, she carried a small container. You should not be here, Taeho said. If other Velthari see you visiting a human, I know the risks. Valara walked to his bedside. She looked at his bandaged back, and something like guilt flickered in her purple eyes. I came to thank you, and to help. She opened the container. Inside was a silver gel that glowed faintly. This is advanced healing medicine. It is only for Velthari, but it will work on humans too. It will help your wounds heal faster and reduce the scarring. Tejo was quiet for a moment. Why would you help me? Because you helped my daughter. Valera began applying the gel to his wounds with gentle hands. By my people's customs, I now owe you a life debt. You saved Lyri from punishment that could have killed her. I must repay that debt. The gel was cool against his burning skin. Tejo felt the pain begin to fade slightly. I did not do it for a debt. Then why? Valara paused her work. You do not know my daughter. You do not know me. We are Velthari. We treat your people like servants. Why would you suffer for us? Tejo turned his head to look at her. His dark eyes were tired but clear. Because she was scared. Because she was small. Because she did not deserve to be hurt for an accident. He paused. No child should be whipped for knocking over some boxes. I do not care how sacred they are. Valera stared at him. In her entire life, she had never heard anyone speak like this. In Velthari society, punishment was punishment. The law did not care about age or intention. If a child of a lower caste broke something, they suffered the consequences. But this human saw things differently. You confuse me, she admitted. Your logic is strange. Maybe your logic is the strange one. Valara almost smiled. Almost. You are bold for a human. I just had 10 energy whip strikes across my back. I think I have earned the right to speak freely. Tejo closed his eyes again as she continued applying the medicine. Tell me about your daughter. What was she doing in the cargo bay? Lyri is curious. Too curious for her own good. Valera's voice softened when she spoke about her child. Her father died 2 years ago in a border conflict. Since then, she has been asking questions about everything. About other species, about the universe, about why things are the way they are. She sounds smart. She is. But curiosity is dangerous for Velthari children. We are expected to follow tradition, to accept the old ways without question. Valara finished applying the gel and closed the container. Lyri does not accept anything without question. Good. Tejo's voice was growing sleepy from the medicine. Never stop asking questions. That is how you find the truth. Valara looked at him with new eyes. This human was not like the others she had observed. He was not afraid. He was not angry. He was simply honest. Before she could respond, small footsteps echoed in the hallway. Lyra appeared in the doorway. She wore a sleeping robe, and her silver hair was messy. In her small hands, she clutched something tightly. Lyri. Valara stood quickly. You should be in bed. How did you find this place? I followed you, Mama. Lyri walked past her mother and approached Tejo's bed. Her purple eyes were serious for such a young face. I wanted to see him. Tejo opened his eyes and looked at the child. Hello, little one. Lyri stared at him for a long moment. Then she held out her hands. In them was a small stone that glowed with soft blue light. This is my treasure. My father gave it to me before he died. It is the most important thing I own.
Ow!
It is beautiful, Tejo said. I want you to have it. Lyri placed the stone on his pillow. Because you protected me. Because you took my pain. My mother says that makes you a Curran. A protector. And a protector deserves the best gift I can give. Tejo looked at the glowing stone, then at the child. Something in his chest tightened. He had not felt this way in years. Not since he lost his sister. I cannot take this, he said softly. It was your father's gift. It belongs with you. Then keep it safe for me. Lyri's eyes were determined. Until I am old enough to protect myself. Then you can give it back. Valera watched this exchange with wonder. Her daughter, who rarely trusted anyone, was offering her most precious possession to a human she had just met. Lyri, Valara said gently. We should let him rest. Okay, Mama. Lyri looked at Tejo one more time. Thank you, Karan. I will come see you again. After they left, Tejo held the small glowing stone in his hand. It was warm against his palm. He thought about his sister, about the day she died, about all the years he had spent blaming himself for failing to protect her. Maybe this was his second chance. He closed his eyes and slept. And for the first time in years, he did not dream of fire and screaming. He dreamed of a small girl with silver skin and curious purple eyes. Meanwhile, in the upper levels of the station, Commander Droven sat in his quarters. He reviewed the security recordings from the cargo bay. He watched the human take the punishment. He watched Valara rush in to save her daughter. And he watched Valara's face when she looked at the human. A slow smile spread across Droven's face. Valara was a political rival. Her family had blocked his promotions for years. He had been waiting for a chance to destroy her. Now he had one. A Velthari diplomat showing concern for a human worker, visiting him in the medical bay, bringing him Velthari medicine. In the eyes of the council, this was a scandal. This was a violation of caste laws. This was exactly what Droven needed. He began making calls to his allies on the council. By the time the sun rose on the station, everyone would know that Valara had been consorting with a human, and then her fall would begin. 3 weeks passed. Teho's wounds healed faster than anyone expected. The Velthari medicine was powerful. His scars remained, but they no longer caused him pain. He returned to work in the cargo bay. Everything had changed. When Teho walked through the station, Velthari stopped to stare at him. Whispers followed him everywhere. He had become famous, though he did not want fame. Some Velthari looked at him with grudging respect. They called him the human who did not break. Others looked at him with hatred. They saw his survival as an insult. A human should have screamed. A human should have begged for mercy. The fact that Teho did neither made them uncomfortable. The human workers treated him differently too. Some kept their distance, afraid that his trouble would become their trouble. Others stayed close, hoping his courage might protect them somehow. Teho ignored all of it. He loaded containers. He did his work. He kept his head down, but he could not ignore Valara. She came to the cargo bay regularly now. She always brought Lyri with her, claiming the child wanted to study human behavior for her education. The excuse fooled no one. But no one dared question a diplomat. Lyri ran through the cargo bay like she owned it. She asked the human workers endless questions. What is this machine? How does this work? Why do you only have 2 arms? Do they ever grow back? The workers were confused at first, but the child's curiosity was impossible to resist. Soon, they were answering her questions and even teaching her human games. Teho watched from a distance. He did not seek out Valara or Lyri, but somehow, they always found him. You are avoiding us, Valara said one day. She had cornered him near a stack of containers while Lyri played with the other workers. I am not avoiding you. I am working. You are working very hard to stay far away from me. Valara's purple eyes studied his face. Are you afraid of me? No. Teho finally looked at her. I am afraid for you. Every time you come here, you give Droven more reasons to hurt you. I hear the whispers. I know he is watching. Valara was surprised. You know, about Droven? Everyone knows. He wants to destroy you, and you are making it easy for him. Teo's voice was low and serious. Go back to your world. Stop visiting the cargo bay. Forget about me and the debt you think you owe. I cannot. Why? Valara was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. Because I do not want to. They stood in silence, the noise of the cargo bay fading around them. Something unspoken hung in the air between them. Something dangerous. Over the following days, their conversations grew longer. Valara asked about Earth, about human families, about the wars that had driven humans to seek refuge in alien space. Teho answered her questions honestly. Even when the answers were painful, he told her about his home city in Korea, now destroyed by the colony wars. He told her about his parents, dead from disease. And finally, on a quiet evening when the cargo bay was empty, he told her about his sister. Her name was Sumin, Teho said. His voice was steady, but his eyes were distant. She was 12 years old. When the war came, I promised to protect her. I told her nothing bad would happen as long as I was there. What happened? Valara asked gently. We were running from the bombing. The crowds were everywhere. I was holding her hand, but there were too many people. Someone pushed between us. I lost my grip. Tejo closed his eyes. I never saw her again. They found her body 3 days later. Valara did not know what to say. In Velthari culture, showing emotion was considered weak. But looking at this human, seeing the pain he carried, she felt something shift inside her. When I saw Lyri in the cargo bay, Tejo continued, I saw Sumin. I saw a scared child who needed protection. I could not fail again. I could not let another little girl suffer because I did nothing. You did not fail your sister, Valara said. War is chaos. You were a child yourself? Maybe? Tejo opened his eyes. But I have spent 10 years believing I failed. It is hard to stop. Without thinking, Valara reached out and touched his hand. Her silver skin against his human skin. The touch was gentle, almost electric. They both froze, realizing what had happened. In that moment, they both knew the truth. This was no longer about debt or gratitude. Something deeper was growing between them. Something forbidden. Before either could speak, alarms suddenly blared through the station. Attention all personnel, a cold voice announced. The diplomat Valara is ordered to report to the council chambers immediately. Repeat, Valara. Must report to the council chambers. Immediately, Valara's face went pale.
How it is.
Begun, she whispered. The council chambers were cold and white. 12 Velthari elders sat in a curved row, their faces like stone. Droven stood at the side, trying to hide his smile. Valara stood before them alone. You have been accused of violating caste purity laws, the head elder announced. Commander Droven has presented evidence that you have been consorting with a human worker, that you have provided him with Velthari medicine, that you have allowed your daughter to interact with humans without proper supervision. I helped someone who saved my child's life, Valara said firmly. There is no crime in gratitude. Gratitude toward a human is crime enough, Droven interrupted. You have shamed your caste. You have shamed your family. You are not fit to raise your daughter. Valara's heart stopped. What are you saying? If you are found guilty, the head elder continued, you will lose your position as diplomat. Your daughter will be placed with a proper Velthari family, and you will undergo purification rituals. Purification rituals. Everyone knew what that meant. Torture, brainwashing, destruction of identity. Valara felt her legs weaken. She did not fall. I request time to prepare my defense. You have 3 days, the head elder said. After that, the trial will proceed. You are dismissed. As Valara walked out of the chambers, Droven followed her. You should have stayed away from the human, he said quietly. Now, you will lose everything. Your rank, your daughter, your mind. He leaned closer. And when they take Lyri, I will make sure she is sent to a labor colony in the outer systems. She will learn what happens to Velthari, who associate with lesser species. Valara stopped walking. Her fists clenched. If you touch my daughter, I will kill you, Droven laughed. With what army? You are alone, Valara. No one will help you. No one will stand against the council for a human lover. He walked away, still laughing. Valara stood in the empty hallway, tears burning in her eyes. He was right. She had no allies, no support. The other diplomats had already turned their backs on her. Her own family had refused to speak to her. She was completely alone. Or was she? In the cargo bay below, Tejo heard the announcement. He heard the whispers about the trial, and he began to plan. He had already taken strikes for Lyri. He was not going to let her mother fall without a fight. The council chambers were full. Every seat was taken by Velthari, who wanted to watch the trial. Word had spread across the station about the diplomat who had fallen in love with a human. It was the biggest scandal in decades. Valara stood in the center of the chamber. She wore plain white robes, the traditional dress of the accused. Her golden markings seemed dim, as if her very spirit was fading. Lyri sat in the front row, held by 2 council guards. The child's face was red from crying. She did not understand why her mother was in trouble. She did not understand why everyone was so angry. Droven stood before the council, presenting his evidence. He showed recordings of Valara visiting the human medical bay. He showed images of her bringing medicine. He showed video of her touching Teho's hand in the cargo bay. "This is not the behavior of a proper Velthari," Droven declared. "This is corruption. This is pollution. Valara has forgotten her place. She has forgotten that humans are beneath us." The council elders nodded in agreement. The crowd whispered and pointed. Valara wanted to defend herself, but what could she say? The evidence was real. She had visited Teho. She had helped him. And yes, she had begun to care for him in ways that her people would never accept. "I call for maximum punishment," Droven continued. "Remove her from her position. Take her daughter. Send her to purification." He paused, letting his words sink in. "And as for the human who corrupted her, he should be executed. Made an example for all humans who dare to reach above their station." The crowd murmured in approval. Valara's heart broke. Not for herself. For Teho. For Lyri. For everything she was about to lose, the head elder raised his hand for silence. "Does the accused have anything to say before we deliver judgment?" Valara opened her mouth to speak. The chamber doors suddenly burst open. Teho walked in. He was dressed in his work clothes, still covered in dust from the cargo bay. Guards rushed toward him, but he raised his hands in surrender. "I have the right to speak," he said loudly. His voice echoed through the chamber. Droven laughed. "You have no rights here, human. You are not a citizen. You have no voice in our courts. Then give me a voice." Teho walked past the guards and stood before the council. "The woman you were judging helped me because I saved her daughter. If anyone is guilty, it is me. I am the one who started this. Punish me instead." "We will punish you," Droven said. "But we will punish her too. The law demands it." Teho looked at Valara. Her eyes were filled with tears. She shook her head slightly, begging him to stop. But he could not stop. He would not. He turned back to the council. "I invoke the right of challenge." The chamber went silent. Droven's smile disappeared. The council elders leaned forward, their ancient eyes suddenly alert. "What did you say?" the head elder asked. "The right of challenge?" Teho spoke clearly. "Your ancient law states that if someone's honor is questioned, a champion may fight on their behalf. The outcome of the fight determines the verdict. I read about this law in the station archives." "That law is meant for Velthari warriors," Droven said quickly, "not for humans. Show me where the law says that." Teho held Droven's gaze without flinching. "Show me where it specifies species." The council elders whispered among themselves. They sent for the ancient texts. For several long minutes they searched through thousands of years of legal records. Finally, the head elder spoke. "The human is correct. The right of challenge does not specify species. It only requires that the champion be willing to fight to the death for the accused honor." Droven's face twisted with rage. "This is ridiculous. You cannot allow this." "The law is the law," the head elder said. "If the human wishes to invoke the right, we must allow it. The question is, who will fight him?" All eyes turned to Droven. He was the accuser. By tradition, he had to accept the challenge or withdraw his accusations. If he refused to fight, he would be seen as a coward. His career would be over. Droven looked at Teho. The human was shorter than him by almost 2 feet. He had only 2 arms. He had no natural weapons, no claws, no energy resistance. Killing him would be easy. "I accept," Droven said with a cruel smile. "I will enjoy tearing this human apart." The crowd cheered. Valara rushed forward. Guards held her back, but she screamed at Teho. "What are you doing?" "He will kill you. Droven has been trained in combat since he was a child. He has killed dozens of enemies in battle." "I know." Teho looked at her calmly. "But I have survived things that would kill most humans. I am not as weak as he thinks. This is not about strength. This is about Lyri." Teho cut her off gently. She needs her mother. And her mother needs to be free. He reached out and touched her face, not caring that the entire council was watching. I already took strikes for your daughter. What is one more fight? Valara grabbed his hand. Tears ran down her silver cheeks. Please do not do this. I cannot watch you die. Then do not watch. Tejo smiled, a real smile that reached his tired eyes. Trust me. Humans are harder to kill than you think. Well, the guards pulled Valara away. Tejo was taken to prepare for the fight. Lyri broke free from her guards and ran to Tejo before he could leave. She grabbed his hand with all four of her small arms. You have to win, she said. Her voice was fierce despite her tears. You are my Karin, my protector. You cannot lose. Tejo knelt down to her level. Do you still have that glowing stone? Lyri nodded. Keep it safe for me. When I come back, you can show me how bright it shines. Ruffled her silver hair gently. Now go back to your mother. Be brave for her. Lyri hugged him tightly. Then she ran to Valara and buried her face in her mother's robes. Tejo stood and walked toward the arena doors in 1 hour. He would face a Velthari warrior in single combat. A warrior with 4 arms, trained from birth, and eager to kill. The odds were impossible. But Tejo had faced impossible odds before. He had survived the colony wars. He had survived losing his sister. He had survived 10 strikes from an energy whip without screaming. He was human. And humans did not give up. As he entered the preparation room, he thought about everything he was fighting for. Valara's freedom. Lyri's future. The chance to prove that humans were not lesser beings. He thought about his sister. About the promise he had failed to keep. Not this time. This time, he would protect them. No matter what it cost. The arena was ancient. It had been built 3,000 years ago, when the Velthari first came to this part of space. The walls were covered in carvings of great warriors and legendary battles. The floor was stained with the blood of countless duels. Today, it was packed with spectators. Velthari filled every seat. They had come to watch a human die. Most of them were already celebrating, laughing about how quickly the fight would end. Some had placed bets on how many seconds Droven would need to kill the human. The shortest bet was 30 seconds. The longest was 5 minutes. No one bet on the human winning. In the lower sections, far from the Velthari crowds, a small group of humans watched. They were cargo workers, maintenance crew, cleaners, the lowest members of the station. They had been allowed to watch only because the council wanted them to see what happened to humans who challenged their superiors. But these humans were not here to watch a death. They were here to support one of their own. Come on, Tejo, one worker whispered. Show them what we are made of. In the center of the arena, Droven stood waiting. He wore ceremonial armor that gleamed under the bright lights. In his 4 hands, he held 2 long curved blades. Energy crackled along the edges of the weapons. His silver skin glowed with confidence. The doors on the opposite side of the arena opened. Tejo walked out. He wore no armor. He had no weapons. He was dressed in simple, dark clothes, the same kind he wore in the cargo bay. His scars were visible on his arms, marks from years of hard labor and harder survival. The crowd laughed. Get him, someone shouted. He has nothing. This is not even a fight. It is an execution. Droven smiled widely. You should have stayed in your cargo bay, human. Now you will die for nothing. Tejo did not respond. He simply rolled his shoulders and widened his stance. His eyes were calm and focused. The head elder raised his hand. The rite of challenge will now begin. The fight ends when one combatant is dead or surrenders. There are no other rules. May the ancestors guide your blades. He dropped his hand. Droven attacked immediately. He moved like lightning. All 4 arms working in perfect coordination. His blades sang through the air, leaving trails of blue energy. He struck high and low at the same time, using his extra arms to attack from angles that no human could block. Te-ho. Dodged, he moved differently than Droven expected. Not gracefully, but efficiently. He ducked under one blade, stepped aside from another, twisted away from the third. The fourth blade cut across his arm, drawing blood, but he did not slow down. Droven pressed the attack. Blow after blow rained down on the human. Each strike was meant to be fatal. Each strike missed by inches. The crowd grew quiet. Droke's van was hitting him now. Cuts appeared on Teho's chest, his back, his legs. Blood dripped onto the arena floor. Any other creature would have collapsed by now, but Teho kept moving. He was not fighting back. He was studying, learning, watching how Droven moved, how he balanced, where he left openings. The Velthari were faster than humans. They were stronger. They had more arms. But they had one weakness that no one talked about. They could not take pain. Their nervous systems were extremely sensitive. It made them quick and precise, but it also meant that injuries hurt them far more than they hurt humans. A cut that a human could ignore would leave a Velthari screaming. Teho had learned this in the cargo bay. He had seen Velthari workers cry out for minor injuries that humans barely noticed. He had remembered it. He had planned for it. 3 minutes into the fight, Droven was getting frustrated. His breathing was heavy. His attacks were becoming wilder. He had expected the human to fall quickly, but the human would not fall. Why will you not die? Droven screamed. He swung all 4 blades at once. Teho dropped to his knees and rolled forward. The blades missed him by inches. He came up inside Droven's guard. It's too close for the swords to reach, and he struck. Teho's fist slammed into Droven's knee joint. Human muscles were denser than Velthari muscles. Human bones were stronger. The impact was brutal. Droven screamed and stumbled. His left leg buckled. The crowd gasped. Teho did not stop. He grabbed Droven's lower right arm and twisted it at the joint. The bones snapped with a wet crack. Droven screamed again, dropping one of his swords. How? Droven swung wildly with his remaining weapons. How are you doing this? Teho ducked under the swing and drove his elbow into Droven's ribs. Humans do not fight pretty. We fight to survive. He grabbed another arm and broke it at the elbow. Droven fell to his knees. 2 of his arms hung useless at his sides. His face was twisted with pain and confusion. This was not possible. A human could not defeat a trained Velthari warrior. It went against everything he believed. But there was Teho, still standing, covered in blood, breathing hard, but still standing. The crowd was completely silent. Te-Ho picked up one of Droven's fallen swords. The weight was strange in his human hands, but he managed to hold it. He pressed the edge against Droven's throat. Yield, Teho said. Yield and live. Droven spat at him. I will never yield to a human. Kill me and be done with it. Teho looked at him for a long moment. He thought about all the humans Droven had hurt, all the workers he had whipped, all the families he had destroyed. Then he stepped back. No. Droven stared at him. What? I am not going to kill you. Teho threw the sword aside. It clattered on the arena floor. I want you to live. I want you to remember this day. I want you to remember that a human beat you in front of your entire people. He turned to face the council. His voice echoed through the silent arena. Humans are not your servants. We are not lesser beings. We feel pain like you do. We love like you do. We fight like you do. He pointed at the fallen Droven. And today, we proved that we can defeat you. The head elder stood slowly. His ancient eyes studied Teho with something new, something that might have been respect. By the law of the right of challenge, the elder announced, the human is victorious. All charges against Valara are dismissed. She will keep her position. She will keep her daughter. Commander Droven's accusations are void. The Velthari crowd did not cheer. They did not boo. They simply sat in stunned silence. But from the lower sections, human workers erupted. They cheered and screamed and hugged each other. Tears ran down their faces. For the first time in their lives, they had seen a human stand equal to their masters. Teho walked across the arena toward the exit. His legs were shaking. His wounds were bleeding. But he kept walking. Valara met him at the edge of the arena. She was crying openly now, not caring who saw. She threw her arms around him and held him tight. "You foolish, wonderful man," she whispered against his chest. Behind her, Leary pushed past the guards and ran to them. She wrapped her small arms around both of them, squeezing as hard as she could. "You won," Leary said, her voice filled with wonder. "You really won." Tejo smiled down at her. "I told you. Humans are harder to kill than they look." They took him to the medical bay. His wounds were serious but not fatal. The same Velthari doctors, who normally refused to treat humans, now worked to save his life. Word spread across the station. The human who took strikes had become the human who could not be beaten. Some Velthari were angry. Others were thoughtful. All of them were forced to reconsider what they thought they knew about humans. 2 days later, Valara came to see Tejo. Leary was with her, holding her glowing stone tightly. "The council has made a decision," Valara said. She sat beside his bed and took his hand. "After your victory, they could not ignore the truth any longer. They are forming a committee to review human rights on the station. It is not much, but it is a start." Tejo squeezed her hand. "That is more than I expected. You changed things. You showed them that humans are not what they believed." Valara leaned closer. "You showed me too." They looked at each other. All the barriers between them, the species difference, the caste laws, the judgment of their peoples, seemed small now. "The life debt is paid," Valara said softly. "You saved my daughter. I owe you nothing now. Good. But I find that I do not want you to leave." She touched his face gently. "I want you to stay. Not because of debt. Not because of duty. Because I care for you." Leary climbed onto the bed and settled between them. She held out her glowing stone to Tejo. "You said you would come back. Now you can have this. You can keep it forever." Tejo looked at the stone, then at the child, then at her mother. For 10 years, he had been running from his past. Running from his failure to protect his sister. Running from connection, from love, from hope. "Maybe it was time to stop running, and I will stay," he said quietly. Valara smiled. Leary cheered. And somewhere in the depths of space, far from any world he once called home, Kong Tejo finally found something worth protecting, something worth living for.